Dad perfect events. The blood on my son's face told me everything I needed to know about my daughter-in-law. I'm Harold Mitchell, 59 years old, and I've seen plenty of injuries during my 30 years in hospital supervision. But when Roy Bennett called me at 3 a.m. saying he'd found Gary beaten unconscious in Millfield Woods, my medical training went right out the window. All I could think was, someone hurt my boy. The drive to those woods felt like the longest 20 minutes of my life. Roy's hunting flashlight cut through the October darkness as he led me down a muddy trail between the oak trees. The smell of wet leaves and decay hung heavy in the air, mixing with the metallic scent of blood that got stronger with each step. Found him about an hour ago, Roy said, his voice tight. Was tracking a wounded deer when I heard moaning. Thought it might be an animal at first. Then I saw Gary, my 32-year-old son who'd always been careful and smart, was curled up against a fallen log like a broken doll. His brown hair was matted with blood, his face so swollen I almost didn't recognize him. His expensive suit, the one Rebecca insisted he wear to maintain appearances, was torn and stained with mud and blood. Gary, I dropped to my knees beside him, my hands automatically checking for injuries the way I'd been trained. Broken ribs, maybe, definitely a concussion, split lip, black eye, bruises everywhere. Son, can you hear me? His good eye cracked open, unfocused and glazed with pain. Dad, I'm here. What happened? Who did this? Gary tried to sit up but collapsed back against the log with a groan. When he spoke, his voice came out as a whisper through swollen lips. Rebecca, she. She said, our family has dirty blood, said I don't deserve to be part of hers. The words hit me like a punch to the gut. Rebecca Fairmont, my daughter-in-law of 3 years, came from old Texas oil money, the kind of people who think their bank accounts make them royalty. I'd never liked how she talked down to Gary, always correcting his grammar, or suggesting he dress more appropriately for their social circle, but this was something else entirely. Why would Rebecca do this, son? Gary's breathing was shallow, painful. I found something at work, papers. She's been stealing from the Children's Charity Foundation. Hundreds of thousands of dollars meant for sick kids. My blood ran cold. Gary worked as an accountant for Fairmont Enterprises, Howard Fairmont's business empire. Rebecca ran their Hope for Children Charity Foundation, all smiles and photo ops with sick kids for the society pages. Turned out it was all a front. When I asked her about it, she went crazy. Gary continued, wincing as he tried to shift position. Started screaming about how I'm just trailer trash who married above my station. Said she'd destroy me if I ever told anyone. Then she grabbed a tire iron from her SUV. Trailer trash, that's what she called us. Never mind that I put myself through nursing school while working night shifts at the aircraft factory. Never mind that I worked my way up from orderly to hospital supervisor, saving every penny to buy a decent house and put Gary through college at Texas A&M. To people like Rebecca, we'd always be dirt under her perfectly manicured fingernails. Roy helped me get Gary to my truck. The kid was barely conscious, mumbling about papers and offshore accounts. I'd treated enough assault victims in my time to know this wasn't random violence. This was calculated, personal. Rebecca had meant to hurt him bad enough to keep him quiet. You calling the police? Roy asked as I settled Gary in the passenger seat. I looked at my son's battered face and made a decision that would change everything. Not yet. The Fairmonts own half the judges in this county. I need to think this through. The 30-minute drive to my house gave me time to process what Gary had told me. Rebecca stealing from charity. Gary discovering it. Her attacking him to keep him quiet. The pieces fit together like a puzzle made of broken glass. My house sits on 5 acres outside town, nothing fancy, but it's mine, bought and paid for with honest work. I carried Gary inside and laid him on the guest room bed, then spent the next hour cleaning his wounds and checking for serious injuries. No internal bleeding that I could detect, but he'd be feeling this for weeks. While Gary slept off the pain medication I'd given him, I sat at my kitchen table and called my brother Leonard. Len was 58 years old, 2 years younger than me, but he'd always been the brains of the family. 25 years as a private investigator before retiring had taught him how to dig up dirt on people who thought they were untouchable. Lenny, I need your help, I said when he picked up on the third ring. Remember what Daddy taught us about taking care of family business. There was a pause. Our daddy had been a machinist who believed in 2 things. Hard work and protecting your own. He'd taught us that sometimes the system doesn't work for people like us, so you have to be smart about fighting back. What's the situation, Hal? I told him everything, finding Gary beaten in the woods, Rebecca's attack, the charity fraud. When I finished, the line was quiet for a long moment. I'll be there in an hour, Len said. And Hal, don't do anything until I get there. We're going to handle this the right way. That meant using our heads instead of our fists. That meant being smarter than Rebecca and her rich daddy. That meant gathering evidence that would stand up in court, not just settling scores in a back alley. But as I looked at my son's battered face, I made myself a promise. Rebecca Fairmont was going to pay for what she'd done. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but she was going to learn that Mitchell blood might not be blue, but it runs deep. Leonard arrived exactly 1 hour later, carrying a worn leather briefcase and the kind of serious expression that meant business. My brother might be graying around the temples and need reading glasses, but 25 years in private investigation had kept him sharp. He'd seen enough corrupt rich folks to know how they operated. "Let me see him," was the first thing he said. I led him to the guest room where Gary was sleeping fitfully. Lynn pulled out a small digital camera and started taking pictures of the injuries from different angles. Professional documentation that would hold up in court. "Broken ribs?" he asked quietly. "2, maybe 3? "Definitely concussion. Whoever did this knew what they were doing." Len nodded grimly. This wasn't rage. This was calculated intimidation. She wanted him hurt enough to keep quiet, but not dead enough to bring murder charges. We moved to my kitchen, where Len set up his laptop on the oak table I'd built myself 15 years ago. From his briefcase, he pulled out a digital recorder, more cameras, and what looked like a small electronic device. "First thing we need is Gary's full statement on record," he said. "Every detail about what Rebecca said and did. Then we need those documents," he mentioned. It took another hour for Gary to wake up properly. His face looked worse in daylight, purple bruises spreading like storm clouds across his cheek and jaw. But his thinking was clearer now, and the pain seemed to give him focus. "Uncle Lenny," Gary said when he saw the recording equipment, "she'll ruin me. Rebecca's daddy has connections everywhere. Politicians, judges, police chiefs. They play golf together at the country club." "Son," I said, pulling up a chair beside his bed, "they can't ruin what doesn't belong to them. You've got something they don't, integrity. And right now we're going to use that integrity to build a case they can't wiggle out of." Over the next 3 hours, Gary told us everything. How he'd been doing quarterly financial reports for the Hope for Children Charity Foundation and noticed irregularities in the books. Large payments to consulting companies that had no real business address. Money being funneled to offshore accounts in the Cayman Islands. When he dug deeper using his access to the company's accounting system, he'd found a pattern going back 5 years. "She's been skimming $200,000 a year," Gary said, his voice getting stronger as he talked. "That's $1 million total, stolen from money people donated to help sick children." Leonard whistled low. "Federal wire fraud, tax evasion, charity fraud. Rebecca's looking at 15 to 20 years if this gets out. I made copies of everything before I confronted her." Gary continued, reaching into his jacket pocket with his good arm. "Bank statements, fake invoices, transfer records, the whole scheme." He handed Leonard a flash drive. My brother plugged it into his laptop and spent 20 minutes going through files, his expression getting darker with each document. "This is solid gold," he finally said. "Professional-grade evidence. She set up shell companies, used fake identities for the consulting firms, even forged tax documents. This is an amateur hour. Somebody taught her how to do this, so why haven't we just called the FBI?" I asked. Leonard leaned back in his chair. "Because the Fairmonts have spent 40 years buying influence in this state. Rebecca's great-grandfather was oil money, her grandfather was political money, her daddy is both. They could make evidence disappear. Witnesses change their minds or pin this whole thing on Gary somehow, then what do? We build an airtight case with multiple pressure points. Evidence so overwhelming they can't ignore it. Leverage so powerful they can't fight it." The next week, Leonard worked his magic. He still had contacts in law enforcement, private investigation, and financial crimes units. Turns out Rebecca had been sloppy in more ways than one. "Your daughter-in-law has expensive tastes," Leonard told me on Thursday morning, spreading photos across my kitchen table. "She's been using stolen charity money to fund a lifestyle her husband's salary couldn't support." The photos showed Rebecca at expensive restaurants, luxury shopping trips to Dallas and Houston, a weekend getaway to Aspen. But the real gold mine was the evidence of her affair with Eugene Thompson, the manager of one of Howard Fairmont's hotels. Hotel receipts, credit card records, even some text messages my contact in digital forensics recovered, Leonard said. "They've been meeting twice a week for the past 8 months. Rebecca's been paying for hotel rooms and expensive dinners with charity money." But the breakthrough came from an unexpected source. Roy Bennett, the hunter who'd found Gary, called me up on Friday evening. "Mr. Mitchell, I've been thinking about that night. I found your boy. There was something I didn't mention before." "What's that, Roy?" "I saw a black SUV leaving the woods about 20 minutes before I found Gary. Looked expensive, one of those luxury Mercedes deals." And I got curious afterwards, so I went back with my good flashlight and looked around some more. Roy had found Rebecca's designer purse, apparently dropped during her attack on Gary. She'd been in such a hurry to get away that she'd left behind a $3,000 Hermes bag containing her ID, credit cards, and most importantly, traces of Gary's blood on the leather handle where she'd used it as a weapon. "I've got it in my truck," Roy said. "Figured you might want to see it before I called the police." Leonard and I met Roy at his place that night. The purse was everything we needed, physical evidence linking Rebecca directly to the assault, complete with DNA evidence that would be impossible to explain away. "Now we've got her," Leonard said, photographing every inch of the bag. Financial crimes, physical evidence of assault, proof of extramarital affair. Time to make our move. I looked at the evidence spread across Roy's kitchen table and felt something I hadn't experienced in years. Not anger, I'd moved past that. This was cold, calculated satisfaction. Rebecca Fairmont had made a mistake thinking Mitchell blood was something to be ashamed of. She was about to learn that underestimating working people was the biggest mistake of her privileged life. The next Monday morning, I called Howard Fairmont's office. His secretary, a woman with a voice like ice water, tried to brush me off. "Mr. Fairmont is extremely busy this week. Perhaps you could speak with someone else about your concern." "Ma'am, this is about his daughter, Rebecca, and some serious allegations involving the Hope for Children charity. I think Mr. Fairmont would want to hear about this directly." There was a pause, then, "Please hold." 2 minutes later, she was back. "Mr. Fairmont can see you tomorrow at 2 p.m. Please bring any documentation you feel is relevant." I hung up and looked at Leonard, who was organizing our evidence into 3 separate folders. "Think he already knows rich men, like Howard Fairmont, don't stay rich by being stupid," Leonard said. "He probably suspects something's not right with his daughter. We're just going to give him the push he needs to act on it." That evening, we had one more piece of business to take care of. Leonard had arranged for a contact at the bank to provide us with detailed transaction records for all the accounts connected to the charity. What we found made my stomach turn. Rebecca hadn't just been stealing from sick children, she'd been living a completely separate life funded by that stolen money. A luxury apartment in downtown Dallas that Gary knew nothing about. Shopping sprees that cost more than most people make in a year. And the payments to Eugene Thompson, not just hotel rooms, but a car, expensive gifts. Even what looked like a down payment on a house. She's been planning to leave Gary, Leonard said, pointing to a series of large withdrawals from the past 3 months. "Look at this pattern. She's been moving money into accounts Gary doesn't know about. I'd bet she was going to clean out whatever she could and disappear with this Eugene character." Gary stared at the bank records, his face pale. The bruises had faded to yellow and green, but I could see a different kind of pain in his eyes now. "I really thought she loved me," he said quietly. "Son, some people are only capable of loving money," I told him. "That's not your fault. That's hers." The next afternoon, Leonard and I drove to downtown Dallas for our meeting with Howard Fairmont. His office was on the 40th floor of a glass tower that probably cost more than my entire neighborhood. The elevator ride gave me time to think about what I was going to say to a man who could buy and sell me 100 times over. Howard Fairmont's office was everything you'd expect from an oil baron: mahogany walls, Persian rugs, windows overlooking the Dallas skyline. The man himself was 67 years old, silver-haired, wearing a suit that probably cost more than I made in a month when I was starting out at the hospital. "Mr. Mitchell," he said, standing behind a desk the size of a small car. He didn't offer to shake hands. "I understand you have some concerns about my daughter." "Mr. Fairmont, I believe your daughter attempted to murder my son. I also have evidence she's been embezzling from your charity foundation for the past 5 years. His expression didn't change, but I saw his hands tense slightly on the desk. "Those are serious accusations." Leonard stepped forward and set the first folder on the desk. "Mr. Fairmont, this contains bank records showing systematic theft of charity funds. Your daughter has stolen exactly $1 million over 5 years through a sophisticated laundering scheme." Howard opened the folder and studied the documents for several minutes. When he looked up, his face was carved from stone. "This can be verified?" "Already has been," Leonard said. "Federal banking investigators have confirmed every transaction." I placed the second folder on the desk. "This contains evidence of the assault on my son, including physical evidence and witness testimony." Howard opened this folder and found photos of Gary's injuries, the bloodstained purse, and Roy Bennett's written statement about finding Gary in the woods. His jaw tightened as he looked through everything. "And this," he pointed to the third folder. Leonard smiled coldly. "Evidence of your daughter's extramarital affair with Eugene Thompson, hotel receipts, credit card records, and photographs spanning 8 months. All funded with stolen charity money." This time, Howard's composure cracked. He opened the folder and found photos of Rebecca and Eugene together at restaurants, entering hotel rooms, shopping for expensive jewelry. The final photo showed them kissing in the parking lot of Thompson's hotel. "How much do you want?" Howard asked after a long silence. The question caught me off guard. "Sir, money, how much to make this go away?" I looked at Leonard, then back at Howard. "Mr. Fairmont, I don't want your money. I want justice." "What kind of justice exactly?" His voice was harder now, more calculating. "You understand that a public scandal will destroy not only Rebecca's reputation, but potentially damage the family business that employs 2,000 people." "We're not looking for a public scandal," Leonard said. "We're looking for appropriate consequences and protection for Gary." Howard stood and walked to his window, looking out at the city below. For a full minute, nobody spoke. Finally, he turned back to us. "What exactly do you want?" I leaned forward in my chair. "First, Rebecca makes full restitution to the charity, every dollar she stole plus interest. Second, she gets professional help for her anger and substance abuse problems. Third, Gary gets a clean divorce with no financial penalties. Fourth, your family leaves mine alone permanently, and in return, this stays between us. No criminal charges, no media attention, no FBI investigation. Your business reputation stays intact." Howard walked back to his desk and sat down heavily. He looked older now, like the weight of his daughter's actions had physically pressed down on his shoulders. "Rebecca has always been difficult," he said quietly. "Her mother died when she was 12, and I perhaps spoiled her to compensate. But this," he gestured at the evidence spread across his desk, "this is beyond anything I imagined. Mr. Fairmont, your daughter nearly killed my son because he discovered her crimes. That's not just difficult behavior. That's sociopathic." He nodded slowly. "I'll need 48 hours to arrange everything. Rebecca is currently in Houston on foundation business. I'll call her back immediately." "One more thing," I said, standing up. "If she tries to contact Gary or comes anywhere near him during this process, the deal is off and everything goes to federal authorities." Howard stood as well. "Understood. You'll have my answer by Thursday afternoon." As Leonard and I left that glass tower, I felt something I hadn't experienced since this whole nightmare started. Not satisfaction exactly, but the solid certainty that justice was finally within reach. Rebecca Fairmont was about to learn what happened when you mistook Mitchell resilience for weakness. Thursday afternoon came with unexpected rain. I was working in my garage rebuilding the carburetor on my 1987 Ford pickup when my phone rang. Leonard's name showed on the screen. "Howard's ready to talk," he said. "Can you meet me at his office in an hour?" The drive to Dallas felt different this time. Less nervous energy, more cold determination. Whatever Howard Fairmont had decided, we were ready for it. The evidence was solid, our position was strong, and Gary was finally starting to heal both physically and emotionally. When we arrived at the glass tower, Howard's secretary led us directly to his office. The oil executive looked like he'd aged 10 years in 2 days. His silver hair was slightly disheveled, his usually perfect suit wrinkled. The folders we'd left with him were stacked neatly on his desk, but they'd clearly been studied extensively. "Mr. Mitchell?" "Mr. Mitchell," he said, gesturing for us to sit. "I've had extensive conversations with my daughter and my legal team. I've also had the charity's books audited by an independent firm." He paused, pouring himself a glass of water from a crystal pitcher. His hands shook slightly. "The audit confirmed your findings. Rebecca has stolen exactly $1,000 to $47,000 over the past 5 years. The sophistication of the scheme suggests she had professional help, possibly from Eugene Thompson, who has experience in financial management." Leonard and I exchanged glances. That number was higher than even we'd calculated. "More troubling," Howard continued, "is what the private investigator I hired discovered about Rebecca's psychological state. She's been using cocaine and prescription drugs for at least 2 years. The combination of substance abuse and what my psychologist consultant describes as narcissistic personality disorder with antisocial tendencies explains both the theft and the violence against your son." I felt a chill. We'd been dealing with someone more dangerous than we'd realized. "So what's your decision, Mr. Fairmont?" Howard stood and walked to his safe, a massive steel unit built into the wall behind his desk. He withdrew a thick manila envelope and placed it on the desk. "Complete restitution," he said. $1,047,000 plus $100,000 in interest and damages. The money has been returned to the charity foundation, and I've personally guaranteed an additional $500,000 for their children's cancer research program." He sat down heavily in his chair. "Rebecca has been committed to a private psychiatric facility in Switzerland for a minimum of 12 months. Substance abuse treatment, psychological counseling, and anger management. She will not be returning to Texas. And Eugene Thompson, terminated immediately. His hotel management license has been revoked, and he's facing his own legal issues related to the money laundering scheme." Leonard leaned forward. What about Gary's divorce? Howard slid another set of papers across the desk. Uncontested divorce, finalized as of this morning. No alimony, no division of assets. Gary keeps everything he brought into the marriage. Rebecca has also signed a permanent restraining order. She cannot contact Gary or come within 500 miles of him for the rest of her life. I picked up the divorce papers and read through them carefully. Everything was exactly as we'd requested, with one addition I hadn't expected. What's this $250,000 settlement to Gary? Compensation for the assault and emotional trauma. Consider it an acknowledgement that my family failed him completely. Howard's voice was thick with something that might have been shame. Mr. Mitchell, I owe you an apology. I raised a daughter who thought money made her untouchable. You've proven that wrong. Over the next hour, we went through every detail of the settlement. Leonard photographed all the documents. I read every line of the legal agreements. By the time we left that office, Rebecca Fairmont had been erased from our lives as completely as if she'd never existed. The drive home was quiet. Leonard and I had spent 3 weeks building this case, and now it was over. Justice had been served, but it felt strangely anticlimactic. You know what the real victory is? Leonard said as we pulled into my driveway. What's that? Gary gets his life back. And he gets to remember what it feels like to have family that fights for him. Gary was waiting on my front porch when we arrived, looking better than he had in months. The bruises were almost gone, and there was something different in his eyes. Strength, maybe, or just the knowledge that he was worth protecting. How did it go? He asked. I handed him the divorce papers and the settlement check. He stared at them for a long time, then looked up at me with tears in his eyes. I don't know how to thank you, Dad. You don't have to thank me, son. That's what family does. 6 months later, Gary had built a new life for himself. He'd used part of the settlement money to start his own accounting practice, specializing in auditing nonprofit organizations. Turned out there was a real demand for someone with his experience in detecting charity fraud. He'd also started dating Sarah Collins, a nurse who'd worked at my old hospital. She was a good woman, kind, honest, came from a working family like ours. No pretensions, no demands that Gary be someone he wasn't. One evening in late spring, Gary and Sarah came over for dinner. We sat on my back porch, watching the sunset paint the Texas sky in shades of orange and gold. You know what I learned from all this, Gary said, taking Sarah's hand. What's that? Rebecca was right about one thing. Our blood is different from theirs. But she had it backwards. Our blood isn't dirty, it's honest, it's loyal. It's the kind that doesn't wash away when things get tough. I raised my beer bottle in a toast. To honest blood, to family, Leonard added. To new beginnings, Sarah said with a smile. As the stars came out over Texas, I thought about Rebecca Fairmont, probably sitting in some expensive Swiss clinic, learning about consequences for the first time in her life. I hoped the treatment would help her, but mostly I hoped she'd stay far away from people like us. Because Mitchell blood might not be blue, but it runs true. And that's something no amount of money can buy or destroy. Sometimes the most powerful revenge isn't destroying your enemies. It's proving them wrong about who you are. Real strength doesn't come from money or status. It comes from knowing your worth can't be bought or broken.